Okay, well, looks like we're going. Okay, so welcome everyone to our Monday evening team call, and our famous dancing duo are out still in Hawaii or somewhere in the skies, coming back now, and as usual, as we say, it takes probably 5 or 6 of us to do what the 2 of them do. So Carolyn Hoffman and Sarah Stern helping on the background there, my husband Paul, and a whole bunch of us leading this evening. We're in Charlottesville, Virginia. Paul and I are diamonds in this company. I've been with ASEA for 2 years, thanks to Dorothy, our amazing sponsor, who we have to eternally say thank you for not speaking up clearly enough so that I didn't realize that she wanted to share ASEA with me. But the outcome has been well worth it, and we can never ever say enough to say thank you for having been willing to step out and go for what she thought was intimidating, which she told me later, being a doctor, that it was kind of scary. So if you want to know how to get past that, talk to Dorothy. She will be a wonderful support for you there in how to chat with everyone and anyone. And so thank you, Dorothy. So we want to welcome everybody from around the world to the Wetzler and Silverman team training on a Monday evening. Our opportunity here is to get together as a group and be connected to our bigger family so that we don't feel isolated if we are a lone person out somewhere, you know, grinding through and leading ASEA where nobody else has yet trodden. And maybe you're on your own and you don't feel so supported, so this is your opportunity to get connected to more than simply your upline or even your own downline. And so it's my pleasure to lead it tonight. And, you know, why do we do this? Well, obviously we want to know that we are bigger than just ourselves, in the same way that we go to events to get a sense of the larger picture of what ASEA is. And I know that when Paul and I decided, it was probably about June, I guess, June of 2017, to get a sense of the bigger picture of ASEA and whether we really wanted to put time into sharing this on a consistent basis. You know, we drove all the way to Mahwah, New Jersey, to get connected to the Malheads event up there and see Karen Riley and come close to the heart of ASEA. And that particular event for us was really the aha moment that, having been in network marketing before, we walked out of that event saying, wow, we actually spent a whole day here, and at no point did people talk about the rah-rah stuff that everybody often thinks about to do with network marketing. Nobody was out there beating the drums on the great big Cadillacs that you could have, or the boat, or the car, or the house, or the huge checks, or even giving you replicas of large checks. For people who did amazing things. They were there talking about the heart of what this company is about. And Karen did the most phenomenal personal development training. And so it was our first example of the mission of to, you know, improve the quality of people's lives and to be a force for good in the world. And doing it through the principles of people and purpose over the ego and economics. And it was just this big aha that was like, wow, what have we got our hands on here? Because this is really amazing. It felt more like a personal development day rather than anything to do with a business and network marketing. So if you're new to it, I congratulate you, every one of you, for having found your way to something very special. And I know every one of us who've been in it for a while know that we talk about the fact that there's a day when we get into ASEA, and there's definitely a day when ASEA gets into you. And I think that's probably what holds us together and is the glue of the family of ASEA, especially if you go to bigger events. We're going to talk a little bit about and why they're important for us, such as the convention that some of you may have attended, and also the Envision event coming up next year. So we give everyone the opportunity to be able to introduce their members of the team to other people so that we can also hear stories as well and get connections that we can then work off and find ways to pull together when we need to be able to share our story across the board and find someone else who has an experience who could help us do that. Since this was literally a last minute, will you, because we're flying, I'd like to, if anybody can unmute themselves personally, if you've got a product testimony. Has anyone got a product testimony?
Carolyn, this is Pearl. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
Pearl.
Debbie asked me to host it, and I'm fumbling around trying to figure out how to be a host. So thank you for grabbing the reins on that. And I did arrange a testimonial. So
Great.
Patty is on. I hope Patty's on with us. Patty, are you with us? Hit your
Yes.
mute button. Hit your unmute button and share your story for us, please.
Hey, Patty.
Hi.
There we go.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to kind of read it because I don't want to meander around. So I kind of put some bullet points together so I could have some clarity and continuity to what I'm going to share with you. So my story started last year in December when I met this really nice lady at a Christmas open house and at a friend's house. And she was quite interesting, and I felt we connected at some level, and there was a lot of things we had in common. Well, that lady turned out to be Pearl Bowen. And a few days later, I woke up one morning and found myself on the floor bleeding because I fell out of bed and my face hit the corner of my nightstand on my right cheek and gashed, excuse me, quite a large hole in my face. And I was already a bleeder, so I was bleeding profusely, and I had to figure out how to give myself the best first aid I could. So I did that. And then once I got everything under control, since it was 5:30 a.m. in the morning and I didn't know too many people that would be awake to share this news with, except my sister. So I sent her a picture of my face and I said, what do you think? Clumsy or what? And so we chatted a bit, and then I don't know why I sent Pearl. I knew nothing of her involvement in ASEA at that particular moment. I just liked her. I sent her a picture to kind of clarify that she had just made friends with a very clumsy person, and that I was probably going to have to go by the name Scarface the rest of my life. So her immediate response was, oh my gosh, I need to get something to you right away. And I had no idea what that was, but it was Renew 28, it turned out. So that was my first exposure to ASEA. I knew nothing about it. And I applied that for, I have pictures too, but they're in someone else's page on the Facebook page, but it was pretty dramatic, the change that took place. I applied the Renew 28 probably 5 to 7 times a day to that side of my face. And from December 22nd until December 30th, it was barely noticeable that I had gashed my face open. And I actually had an appointment with a specialist for another reason the day after it happened. And he looked at it and said, well, I wouldn't bother with stitches. It's not going to make any difference anyway. You're going to have a terrible scar there, which I don't. And so anyway, then Pearl and I got together and I got to learn a little bit more about ASEA. And the amazing thing was my exposure to learn about the redox signaling molecules, which I knew nothing about. But I kind of buried myself in the information that was provided to me. And it was a no-brainer to me about signing up. I wasn't so much looking for a business, but obviously, you know, would not look away from it because how can you not tell everybody you know about redox signaling molecules and Renew 28, in addition to everything else. So going forward from there, I have only a few people, immediate family, and Pearl knows. I have other medical challenges that I never shared with anyone because I wasn't ready to, and I felt I wanted to have evidence-based results because I am under the care of an oncologist. And I started the redox molecules in January, and I'm under the 2-year wait, check, and see protocol for rogue cells in my lungs and in my pancreas. And I went 6 months, I think it was July, and I went for my regular tests. And the response from my oncologist was there was no change, which to me is a really good word when you're talking about rogue cells in your lungs, in your pancreas. In fact, I do that every 6 months. So I am sure that redox signaling molecules will be a part of my life for the rest of my life. And I am very hopeful that I'm going to experience really life-changing results. And I feel I already have. Now, those are the big things. Those are the things that not a lot of people know about me. And I have smaller things that have been managed and impacted by using redox molecules every day. And I wish I could drink a bottle a day. I'm working towards that end, but I can't. But it's, so that's pretty much my story. It's an ongoing story, and I hope to have more really good news and evidence-based results, which I think, you know, even the doctors have to pay a little closer attention when you start sharing that with them. So that's pretty much my journey thus to date.
Well, thank you. That's amazing. And you know, I mean, Pearl's an amazing person, and I'm no wonder she ran over to help you. Isn't it amazing how you fall out of bed and you hit your face, but you end up having a bigger benefit in a different way because of the other health issues that you had, and now you're seeing changes that have come because you cut your face. And I'm so glad that you're no longer going to be Scarface.
I'm certain it was divinely inspired. You know how you look back and you go, now, why did that happen? Well,
yes.
Wouldn't have met Pearl, wouldn't have met Redox, wouldn't have met the Asia family, which I was blessed to go to Cancun with her and meet so many of you. So I'm hooked.
Yeah. Well, how did that, I mean, actually, let's just transition for a second. I love you to talk about what did that do for you in your vision of ASEA, because you got to go to the Cancun Ascent event, you know, which is obviously what a lot of the people are striving for each year to get to do.
Yes. That was an OMG moment for me. I couldn't believe I got invited, and then I got to see so much more, of course. And I aspired to have a goal. Like I said, I really wasn't looking for, I had a lot on my plate, still do. And I'm an active working Grammy who has a grandson who depends on her once a week. But I just, the vision that I saw, the people that I met, and I've been in MLM since I was 20 some odd years old, various different kinds. So I'm very familiar with how they work, and this is not how they work. This is so amazing. And so, you know, just even the compensation is so unbelievable. It's just, there's nothing out there like it. And that's the incredible part, is that I don't even look at it as an MLM. I think that I am very fortunate to have joined a family of this caliber. And like I said, I went through a very tough experience. I was diagnosed 1 year to the day after I lost my best friend and soulmate to 8 years of traditional medicine, doing things that probably didn't need to be done because they wouldn't make a difference. Mm. So I was pretty strong-minded about wanting to find something that, you know, wouldn't kill me if it cured me. So I was so exciting I couldn't watch enough videos from Dr. Samuelson all the way down the line. I think it's just amazing. And like I said, I share it with everyone that I can. You know, not everybody is receptive, but that's okay. It's funny because they do come back eventually.
So Patty, let me just ask you, just wrapping up on the testimonial piece, you went to Cancun. Obviously you were already committed to sharing the technology because, as you said, it was a no-brainer for you, and therefore you wanted to bless other people. Was there first off, has that changed, going to Cancun, has that changed your commitment to sharing? And was there any single thing that made a shift for you in how you're doing anything differently since you've been to Cancun?
Well, like I said, my plate is pretty full as far as time availability with doctor's appointments and this, that, and the other thing. But Cancun really let me see the inside, the heart of ASEA. And I think until you experience an event, and of course, we're already planning for convention in Anaheim because that's just down the street, you know. So I think seeing the heart of ASEA, meeting people from all walks of life, lets you know it's not the run-of-the-mill MLM, that it is something very special. And if you watch the Genesis video and you don't realize that there was something very special about how this company came into being, you just gotta have, you must be deaf, dumb, and blind, you know. So yes, I think Cancun really let me see surgically the inside of ASEA in a way that I might not have seen it sooner.
So I guess you would encourage everyone on here, if they've never been before, to really strive to go this next year.
Absolutely. I think the events are critical, and it is a time of connecting and bonding and sharing, and it's just, you know, it's really great. Absolutely.
Well, thank you. And thank you to Pearl. I think, you know, obviously changing your life and putting you in a great place for success and continued good health. So thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Sarah, I guess we're going to have our fun time together in sharing the rank advancements that we have from Debbie. Maybe if you want to, can you bring up the screenshots that she sent us?
Yeah, let me share my screen. And
what we do here is, thanks to, we actually got screenshots from Debbie's back office, so we'll have fun on this one. And we're going to talk about the rank advancements and what that means briefly. So those of you who are an associate obviously have joined. The first official rank is that of a director. And a director is someone who has simply sponsored one associate on their right leg and one associate on their left. So they're binary qualified. They may have other customers, but that's the qualification for becoming a director. And those of you who do that in your first 2 complete pay weeks, not necessarily the 2 weeks in which you first joined, but beginning the very first Saturday, running through for 2 weeks to the following Friday, 2 weeks, you can actually earn a $50 bonus for becoming a director in that time. So if you happen to enroll on a Sunday, you get like a freebie week because your weeks don't actually begin until the following Saturday. So it kind of gives you a head start, which is fun. And so our first rank, where are we? So director, yes, thanks for the pointer. So we have, and I have to get close because it's not that large a reading. So Mildred Rivera. And then we scoot on down to Jennifer. Is that, it's a little faint here. Murthat, is that right?
Mahar.
Mahar, thank you. I can't read it that clearly, actually. Niels Longe, probably maybe. And I'm sorry for apologizing for these. So we go to Eve Spinner, is also a director. Coming on down to, is that Parisi Navabi?
Yes.
I'm going to get really close to this to read it. And is that our last director? Yeah. And so, and then we move on to Director 300, which means that not only are you binary qualified, but you now have volume on your right and left leg, which is equal to at least 300 points at a minimum on your lesser leg. These ranks are always determined by our lesser leg volume to qualify us. So the first Director 300 in last week was Denise Abdul Samad. We move on down to Anand Patel and Karine Walther. And we're moving on down to, oh, you're quick. Oh, this is a fun one. Sorry about this. I'm sure I'm going to butcher this one. Suleporn Punaru Calthorn, gosh, and she'll probably hate me for that. And then we move down to Laura Diva, and I think another one there, that's it, Aline Brochard. We have Agnes Dormard, and another one that I'm going to struggle with, Canokporn Rittimontri. And they're going to hate me when they carry on hearing the way I say that. I think that's our last D300 out of the list.
Bernadette Batista.
Oh yeah, Cool, that's it. And I know the ones at the bottom are D700s,
Yes.
aren't they? So we're going to move up. Sarah, you're going to do the D700s?
Sure.
Probably
So director 700 is when you have 700 in volume on both legs, or at least on your smaller of the two legs. And we have Vannery Ohm and Eris Ann Escamilla, Jane Flowers, Becky Bennett, Yuna Yang, Sai Yu Yi, Gilles Langaletti, Cornelia Lasavage. I apologize for all these names that I'm.
It's probably Le Sauvage.
Le Sauvage, BJ Hartfield, Joanna J. Chen Lin, Trang Hyun, Yanwoo Ki, Mai Dakota Inc. Heng On Kong, and Emily Kong, Chan Y Fun, Tai Chang Wong, Elena Forio, Celeste Lai, Y Li Tan, and these two, Lizelle Ladama and Alison Gravisa and Vince Espiritu. Wow. Congratulations to all the new Director 700s.
And then we're moving on to bronze. So you want to take the bronze?
Sure. So bronze is the first executive level rank in the business. So this means that you have 2,000 in volume on your lesser leg in your business, as well as 2 Director 300s. So congratulations to the new bronze executives. Sophorn Hall, Bamboo Service Center, LLCU. Yuyan Zhu, Samada XB Inc. Fong Lin Chong. I apologize, everyone, for mispronouncing all of these names. That looks like that's the end of the bronze.
Okay. And then we have a silver, which is wonderful. So our silver is Ling Fang Zhen, and silver means that they've moved on a little further in the building of those 2 legs. So now they have 3,000 in volume on their lesser leg as a minimum, and they now have 3 Director 300s that are also qualified.
That's it.
That's it. So that's a huge accomplishment. And I think we also have to be successful. What are you saying? Oh, yeah. My husband's texting me here, and it takes a bronze or better to qualify for the Ascent trip. So those are people that are already qualifying for the Ascent trip by winning points to that leaderboard to actually be able to go to Croatia. And then we have super congratulations. I think, Sarah, you mentioned that, in fact, this was like a preempt last week because it takes about, the actual qualifications don't get formalized until Tuesdays from the company. So today we're actually celebrating everything that's formally recognized from last week. But I believe that Alex and Noland, our wonderful Amy and Will Noland's daughter, became a gold, and it's formally acknowledged here on this. And so I believe that she was acknowledged. I don't know if she's on today, and congratulations to everybody. So that's phenomenal.
Awesome.
Well done, everyone. So I hope that all of you are working hard to build yourselves. If you're not a bronze, then, you know, getting towards that bronze and starting to qualify and moving beyond that gives you those points every week. And you can see that in your widget in the back office as to where you are on the leaderboard. It's going to track everything. And make sure that even if you're not yet a bronze, that you go in and click your option for the Ascent trip, so that it will start tracking your activity. And the moment you hit bronze, it'll suddenly populate up there, and you'll find out that you're on the way to being invited. Everyone who is a bronze who qualifies once, and I think it's a minimum of 500 points, is that right? I'm not looking at the event. I think it's 500 volume points. In other words, you've maybe signed up couple of people with 200 PV packs, that gives you the invitation. That doesn't get it paid for you. Obviously, the better ranks are a minimum of 20 points will get you the hotel accommodation, and the 40 points with the different amounts of enrollment volume enables you to actually have your trip paid for with the flight and the hotel. So take a look at that, what goes into getting to those events, because they are life-changing and they're certainly well worth it. Let's take a second now to, if we have any new members and that we have any members who would like to introduce their new team members, feel free to unmute and let's find out who they are and where they're from and why they joined ASEA. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have someone new to introduce. And this is always a great moment for people to kind of see that they're bigger, they're in something bigger than just their associate who shared this story with them. So do we have anybody new? I feel like going, gone. No, not really. We'd love to hear. Let's take a second. If we don't have anyone new, how about, does anyone have a business success they'd love to share with us this week? Something that they're proud of that took place. Maybe, you know, maybe you're new and you enrolled your first associate. Maybe you enrolled your first customer. Maybe you did your first in-home. Maybe you used one of the 10-minute wrap-ups in that in-home and this was your first event. Something, you know, that you'd love to share with us that you are proud of, your success that you've achieved.
I can share something briefly, Carolyn.
Cool, Pearl, great.
At an event yesterday, I actually was at two of them. I drove about 45 minutes in one direction to have lunch with a new person who's down from Boise, Idaho. Enjoyed their lunch and got to know them. She just had surgery on her wrist and had a phenomenal response with the technologies in her recovery. So I was visiting with them, and then I left there and I drove another 45 minutes in total opposite direction to get to an event in Riverside, California. And I was called there to meet a person specifically. Her name is Gladys, and she's up in her 80s. I was called there by her granddaughter to meet her because her husband is in a serious situation, and the granddaughter has benefited beautifully from redox. So I went out I had a ASEA display there, and I went out there to meet, but it was all about Gladys. And I went by request of the granddaughter to see if I could help Grandpa. So we're standing there and talking, and I had one of the business kits, a little blue box sitting on the table. And she says, "What is this?" And I said, "It contains some information." And I said, "Let's see what's in here that will serve you." So we're looking at the little pamphlets that come in the business kit. And she says, "Well, if this is going to help my husband," she says, "give me that business information. I just might help you sell this stuff." I said, "Okay." I didn't see that coming. I was not prospecting a business partner, but you just never know. She's a prominent citizen in this city. Her husband was a contractor there. He's up in his 90s now. And they know this community very well, and the community knows them. So when this helps her husband, because we know that it will, she could very well end up being quite the business partner in our ASEA family. So I say, I talk all the time about get up, thread up, show up. Yeah, that's the title of my book that's going to get written someday. So that day, I seriously threaded up. I drove substantial distances to be at one place and then left there in a timely manner to get to the next place. And it was because I was supposed to be there to meet this woman. And I'm sure we'll be meeting Gladys on this call because she is one spunky lady. But isn't that fun? Give me that business information. I think I might just help you sell this stuff. I said, "Okay, Gladys, let's do it." So you just never know when you show up. Who's going to show up and be there for you?
No, you truly don't. And I'm sure we've all got examples, right? I mean, I don't know if anybody else has an example of somebody that you share with and you really didn't expect them to be a business builder, not remotely interested, and somewhere along the line they came out of the blue and really surprised you so much. So I don't know if anybody else, that's fabulous. I'm really excited for you. And again, I think you're an example of showing that you do that, you make the effort, right? And you drive where it's necessary to go to. to do the work if you really want to build and you care about sharing. You go the extra mile, and so look what comes out of that.
Absolutely.
Cool. Anybody else have an experience where they had something different happen than they were expecting?
Carolyn, I have something to share.
Yes, Micheline.
I met with a local lady, and I was doing a one-on-one in home, and she's someone who has been very good at alternative medicine and sees a chiropractor and is into herbs and watching her diet, et cetera, et cetera. And she was just so refreshing because she was of like mind. And so she was just one step ahead of me during the whole presentation. And at the end of it, she looked at me and she said, Micheline, she said, you just don't know. She said, this is a gift. And I looked at her and I thought, wow, you're there, you get it. And she was, and she did sign up as an associate, and she's excited, and she's just taking on a new job. She's a stay-at-home mom. She's taking on a new job, but she's hoping to be able to share it. And so she's my first associate that has expressed sincere interest in sharing. So that was exciting.
Wonderful.
Needless to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is exciting. And you know, we had that even with one of the first people that came to our first in-home, and I don't know if Sue's actually on the call, but I invited Sue to the very first event we did when Dr. Silverman came down to our house, and she met with me the following day or a couple of days later for coffee to chat about it. And I knew she was interested in the technology because we'd shared information over the last 20 years. And I nearly fell off my chair when she said to me, you know, I think this may be something that I want to do as a business. And this was the end of July. And she said, so if I'm going to consider it as a business, I need to come to convention. I mean, you could have just knocked me over because that was not what I expected. I didn't expect her to be attracted to the business side of it. That was not my goal whatsoever. And for her to make a decision knowing only what she had heard that one night and say, I'm coming to convention. And her reasoning was, if I'm going to work with this company, I need to know who they were. I mean, some of her background was corporate anyway, so she was more familiar with looking at, you know, how industries work and do I want to be part of that. So it really teaches us never to prejudge. Because you know, we just don't know. We don't, in the same way that Dorothy was kind of scared about sharing with me because, you know, I was this fearsome doctor. And people, as we've discussed many times, you know, people look at people who are in theory successful practitioners or successful business people, you know, professionals, and they often think, well, they're not going to want this business. We just never know what's going on in somebody's life. So it's, you know, I was talking with some people in the other day and just saying, you know, think about this in the restaurant industry. And I know Jordan and Sarah, we've often talked about this when we're in restaurant industry. You know, the server comes up and offers tea and coffee at the end, right? They don't get bent out of shape if they say no thanks to both, and they don't try to convince somebody if they say, well, I'll have tea. They don't stand there and give them a long diatribe of why they should have coffee and why the coffee's so good. They just accept it and move on. So, you know, it's partly encourages us really to offer everything because we don't know what people are looking for, and not to prejudge in our own mind from our own perspective how we, you know, think it's going to go. So it's kind of interesting. But you know what, it's really interesting, Micheline, because it's such a breath of fresh air, isn't it, when somebody just gets it. And I always think it highlights just how simple this job is and how simple this business is when you have people who are open to learning and it makes common sense and they just go, well, yeah, absolutely, who wouldn't want this, right? Same thing that Patty was saying, why would, it's common sense. And then that contrast is how frustrating it is when we get the people who want to analyze and pick it over and take, 2 weeks to consider it and all the rest of it, which just kind of reflects back at this last weekend, or rather Thursday. Talia and I went up to the National Achievers Conference or Congress, actually in New Jersey. It's a whole lot of speakers. I went just because she was going. It sounded interesting. The main keynote speaker was somebody called Gary V. I've heard of her talk about it a lot. Some people on here may know who he is. Millennials definitely know who he is. And he has a huge following, not simply as a marketing and advertising person, but he has a very different take on things, and he gives away a tremendous amount of things for free in terms of value, and is very, very focused in that, and calls people out on their nonsense, when they love to suggest that they're doing something that's philanthropic, but actually it's really not, it's self-serving. So he was kind of interesting, and she was going, it was a day event, so I was like, oh, I'll come with you, we'll go road trip, maybe I'll meet some other people who have a more of an entrepreneurial mindset, for the ASEA sharing. So that's kind of fun. And I had no expectations. I don't think I even really knew who the heck was going to talk. Just there to listen. But one of the speakers, and I just really kind of thought that I might share some of what I took away from that and how it resonated for me with ASEA and how it applies to what we're doing, was that he made a really interesting statement, and I thought, oh yeah, this is so true. How many times have you had people who say, I need to go home and think about this, right? Or I need to go home and, analyze the wits out of it, or do 15 months of research, right? Or I need to go talk to X, Y, or Z. And, his background is in Syria. He's a serial entrepreneur. His name is JT Fox. He's actually apparently the most successful coach there is, a most highly paid coach in the world. Now it's really fascinating to me because I hadn't got a clue who he was. He's in his very early 30s. He's a 9-figure income earner in his early 30s. He talks about his history being at 24. He had moved from Canada down to the United States to build a business, brought about $900 with him. He talks about the fact that he went to $34,000 in debt and was about to go home when he made his first real estate deal, and then his second one, and within 1 year, from 23 to 24, he became a millionaire. Then it moved to 10 million and so on, and now he's a 9-figure income earner, and that was in his late 20s. He's now in his early 30s, and he travels extensively all over the world. He has 54 businesses. He's a wealth coach. He helps brand people, lots of people that Dynamic guy. I've never known anybody speak as fast as he does. We had to record in order to be able to, I couldn't write fast enough, and I can write pretty quickly and take really good notes, but there's no way I could get any of this down. But he made an observation that when someone has listened to for him it's a sales pitch, and in sales industries, but when somebody has gone through our process of learning, our education process, and they say they have to go home and think about it. He talked about the fact that when people walk out and go home and have to think about something, it's a 90% proof that tomorrow will be a no. And so that's really kind of an interesting piece, isn't it? That maybe we also need to know that is a statistic within sharing anyway, that once people are in that place where they have to say, well, I need to think about this more, that there's more doubts, because, as he talked about, that psychologically the brain is designed to find problems, to find negatives. So when they get home and they start reviewing things, our brain is already searching for the reasons not to do something, so to speak. I don't know that people necessarily think of it exactly like that, but they do find the problems with why they should not proceed. But so the thoughts that I took from it, and we can kind of just think about reflecting how it applies to what we do. One of the things he talked about was that in the end, business success is the sum of every decision that we've already made to this point. So, and what I want to throw these out for is really more a point of reflection for yourself. If you are not where you want to get to, or you've struggled to get to this point, or you're struggling to move forward to another place, just take take these notes down and sit and cogitate over them on the next few days and see what it reveals for you about who we are and how we work and where we are, and if any of this is applicable or brings an aha. So the success is the sum of every decision that we've made. And I guess that's true, right? I mean, if we've moved a particular rank, especially if we're in the executives and we've made a decision that we're going to be a bronze, or we're going to move to a silver or a gold or whatever it is, and we've gone to work and we've achieved it, it was because we made a decision and we took action on that decision. And so we can analyze, if we reached a certain level, what was it that we did to help us get there, and then maybe apply that again to the next level. But he does say that, that regardless of wherever you are, every level is where we've come from at this point. And every time we need to move to another level, we have to change who we are and how we work. That we have to make changes. We can't continue to progress from the current operating status, so to speak. What got us to where we are now is not what's going to move us to the next thing. We have to change and develop if we want to succeed. And how we change determines how we succeed. So every level requires a change in order to succeed to the next level. So I look at that as growth, right? Growth that we require if we want to become these other ranks. I mean, I don't, you know, for those of you who are at a bronze and you're wanting to aspire to a silver, the mindset that got you to the bronze is not where you're going to need to be the silver. You have to make a shift in how you think about things. For us, it was also a decision, and I know from, you know, years back when we did different trainings on things, comes back to a mindset that we were taught about, the fact that the word decision comes from the Latin decidere, to cut off. And when you make a decision, you cut off all other options. Right? So if you haven't cut off all other options, you haven't really made a decision to move forward. So at some point, if you made a decision to be a bronze, what was it that you shifted within yourself to go to work and do the things and cut off the possibility of staying where you were at that rank and become the bronze? For us in Diamond, it was a decision. And I'm, you know, Paul can talk about his feelings on this, but, you know, we got to platinum, and it wasn't that I didn't ever believe we would become Diamond, but I know that I think in my own mind, it seemed like a much more insurmountable, a longer journey, not necessarily so much insurmountable, but a longer journey, that it was going to take time. And that I was, well, it's like, okay, I know I'm going to get there. It's really like climbing a mountain. If I just keep on doing it, eventually, you know, things are going to slot into place. But some things shifted, and we realized that the possibility was there. It wasn't going to happen if we just sat there and did nothing. It wasn't an inevitability, but it was a decision that we suddenly made that this was a run we were going to go for. And the other side of it, I realized, was, well, we got there, and it's like, okay, well, you know, Diamond, I'm not dismissing, you know, anyone's achievement in Diamond and what it takes to get to any of these ranks. But to me, it was like it was just another name on the process of moving through the ranks. But coming back to and thinking about what he was talking about, I realized once we got into that rank, I realized that, gosh, this isn't just moving another rank. I have to now grow into what that rank requires. I couldn't be who I was at platinum and now expect to really develop the level of being Diamond. It was kind of interesting how it was a lot of things that didn't occur to me until we were kind of in it for the first month or two, and gradually it began to reveal that a different mindset was going to be needed now if I was going to move through Diamond in terms of fleshing out Diamond and stabilizing and making that a really solid and stable business level, and then being able to reach and move forward to where that goes to becoming a double Diamond. So I think there is definitely a different mindset and different actions that we have to take, and part of that is decision. He made an interesting comment that wealthy people aren't lazy. He said there is no one who is wealthy who is lazy. And he said also that if you're lazy, it's probably because you aren't falling in love or have not fallen in love with anything. Because if you fall in love with something, you aren't likely to be lazy. You're going to be engaged in whatever it is you truly love, right? And we look at how we put time in to the things that motivate us, whatever that is, whether it's baseball that's the thing that motivates us, or basketball or ice hockey or whatever. And we look at where we put our time. We put our time to the things that motivate us when it's not just having to go to work and work for somebody else, but over our spare time or how we want to choose our focus. Talia at the moment is busy working for, as our eldest daughter is now a brand ambassador for Souls for Souls. Her focus, because this motivates her, is 100%. And therefore the energy, and I'm not defining what lazy looks like in terms of how many hours does that mean that you put into anything, but I think it's effort and energy and commitment. And so I actually was thinking that it would be fun for you each to take a little challenge over the next week and just take like a blank, if you can find a blank calendar, just one, Monday through Sunday or Sunday through Saturday, whichever way, a blank calendar, and then with a highlighter through the week, just highlight each time you're actively engaged in income producing activities to do with a seer. And look at it at the end of the week and see if you take like a pink highlighter and you just mark off, you 15 minutes or an hour here or half an hour there or whatever it is. And that's not sitting on charge up calls. That's not sitting on learning things, but income producing activities, either inviting people, being on three-way calls, getting in front of people like Pearl did, and have a reality check of what does that really look like, so that you can, because I think very often people were asking us only today or yesterday, how much time do you spend in this business? And I know that I'm mentally fully engaged full time. I'm not fully engaged full time in the doing of it, but I think that we often can fall into this habit that we think we are, because we think about a seer all the time, or we're taking it with us wherever we go. We sometimes can believe that we're actually more engaged in the doing of the business than we really are. And then sometimes we can be dissatisfied with the outcome, because we imagine that we're really all over this business and putting in lots and lots of hours and not seeing what we want to see. But actually, if we really did a reality check, even just over 1 week, you might actually see that we're not physically as involved as we imagine we are. And I actually have challenged my team in last week when we're doing a program with Danielle's group, where we track things like what we call below the line activities. So those would be the things like the charge up call and the getting on a team call like this and reading something that's going to develop you within the business and helping train yourself, as opposed to those income producing activities, the above the line activities. And when they send in their sheets to us at the end of the week and we can review them, what I see is a lot of people are very comfortable with the below line activities, that they're less comfortable with getting into the space of the above the line activities, those things that actually will help you create what you really truly want. And I actually said to people, you know what, I would say to you that over the next week, do something different. If you have to choose how you spend your time, ditch the below the line activities and put it to the above the line activities. Because the outcome, the results of what are exciting and what remotivates you to get you engaged in the things that you might initially find more difficult. And I don't believe that truly those of us who are here and putting in the time that we put in, I would also say that there's not one of us that actually doesn't want the money. It doesn't mean that we're doing it because we're identifying and saying, oh, I want to be a millionaire or anything like that. Because I think the money is only a vehicle for something that has a quality or has a purpose in each of our lives. And so what I would ask you to also identify, what is that money going to do for you? Why do you need it? What would it look like? How would it change whatever it is you want to change? Is it because it gives you the freedom to do things? He was laughingly and jokingly criticizing when people say, that money doesn't bring happiness. And he said that's nonsense. And really, I was kind of reflecting that actually it's very true. Because if we think about it the opposite way around, does it bring happiness to not be able to pay your bills? Does it bring happiness to a father who can't afford to take their children on vacation? Right? Does it bring happiness to say, we haven't got the money to send you to college? Or, you know, any of those things, or even, you know, the challenges that people have. Sometimes maybe they haven't got health insurance, and or maybe they've got it, but they've got large fees that they have to pay with it. And then one of their family's sick and they have to think twice about whether they can go to a doctor. The lack of money certainly brings misery. The income itself isn't necessarily that having that money is going to make you a happier person. No, I don't believe that that's the case of it, but I think it can definitely bring a lot of happiness in our life because it takes away the stresses and the strains that come from not having it. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing when he challenged that. He also took the notion that how many people kind of get engaged in, oh, I'd love to be a millionaire. And then he said, well, how many of you in the audience actually have made 100,000, have 100,000 in the bank? Because he said, instead of worrying about being a millionaire, go out and make the first 100,000 and actually get engaged in that. And then he took statistics. So we're not looking at this as, you know, our outcome, but I think the application of the statistics can apply. That the first 100,000 that people created was 100% all about them. Their efforts was 100%. That the first million proved that statistically it was 90% them and 10% their people. And 10 million shifted to 10% them and 90% of the business organization, the people in it. I think that is, you know, there's a correlation, because as we build bigger organizations, it's not all about our own efforts, it's about the group. But it was just kind of parallels that are moving through to diamond, etc. You know, there's a shift in what goes on, but certainly we always have to be consciously engaged in our business all the time. How you change is how you succeed, was something else he talked about. And that what we know now is, you know, is only what got us to where we are. What we, if we want the next level, we have to know something different. We have to change and we have to develop. And so, you know, in this business, they always talk about work more on yourself than anything else if you really want to develop. He had a really interesting thing about negativity. He also made the comments that happy people don't go online and write bad, negative things online. He talked about the fact that, you know, you can have a successful event like was going on and, you know, 20,000 people or 2,500 people or whatever it is, thousands of people engaged in a happy event. And you can have 2 or 3 people who are negative tweeting about it. So I took that back to thinking about the negative sites that we have, because he felt that those people were only there because they wanted you to fail. They wanted to knock your business and to make sure that you weren't successful, rather than go out and be successful themselves. And if we look at that thing like the science evidence-based website, whatever it is that you get out there, and it's all negative, you know, about SEO, but it's negative about everything. You know, looking deeper behind that, as David will also talk about, we know that what motivates those people is that they're trying to promote something themselves. And they really want to knock everything else so that they can pull you down as well. He was talking about time to fire the negative family and friends, and that don't go around being burdened by listening to other people's opinions. An interesting thing is that he made a comment about the fact that, you know, the people that talk about a scam, this is a scam, whatever it is a scam, and they try to put you off it, are always the ones that are unsuccessful. So they're unsuccessful, but they're trying to tell you that what you're doing is no good. And so it's really important not to have those negative mindsets around you. So I think that's, I'm not going to carry, I'll leave you with one other thought that I thought was interesting. He talked about the fact that we can either live in an ocean of sameness or we can swim in a lake of success. And that really still comes down to that kind of decision piece. So, you know, just some of that is just kind of reflecting on where you're at, and commit to yourself. And definitely, I would say what we've often talked about, Paul and I, when we had that opportunity to talk to the Diamonds right at the beginning, every one of them said to us when we asked that question about what would you do differently, that they said they would all do it quicker. Because that gets you out of the zone of misery and hanging around, and it gets you to take off and fly and actually get the benefits and get something back for the work that you're putting in. You know, and commit to yourself. What was the last one, Risa? It was, we can either live in an ocean of sameness or we can swim in a lake of success. Cool. Paul, and if you had anything you want to kind of add in terms of, we've got the last few minutes here, or anyone else?
I'll just speak up to grabbing that by the reins. Trish talks about often about having it down hot so you can deliver it cold.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was handed the host position of this Zoom and was kind of prepared, but I obviously didn't have the notes in front of me you had in front of you.
So but then we got different messages, because I got Debbie and David saying, okay, thanks very much, you can do it.
Okay, well, and there again, communication.
Yeah, communication.
Communication in any relationship is critical.
What was the name of the book? Somebody asked me what was the name of the book. It wasn't a book. This was J.T. Fox, who's a serial entrepreneur, real estate investor and philanthropist, who was at the National Achievers Conference. And so those were just what I took from his talk in general.
Well, it was excellent. And we just, you know, people are saying, you know, are you the host? And I said, as long as this meeting flows fluidly, that's what matters most. So you know, I just love it. I just love it. All in divine order. And
yeah, we'll get it together. We're a team, right?
Absolutely. It takes a village. It was beautifully done. Thank you for sharing all of that good wisdom. And thank you, Patty, for sharing your story, your ASEA story.
Yeah, it's cool.
All in the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, both of you.
So we have just 1 minute. Anyone? Paul, do you want to share anything? Anyone else? A comment? Sarah?
Carolyn, I think Sylvie actually had a new person on that she
Okay,
wanted
great. Okay, well, fire away.
Hi guys, sorry, I was quickly. Yes, we have Nancy Cotton, who actually, it's not a new associate, but be re-engaged. And she has with her Becky Bennett, who went from director to director 700. So I just wanted to say a little kudo and congratulate them. I told them I will mention them and congratulate them. So if Becky Bennett is still there, she may be able to say a little hi. I don't know if she's still.
Sarah, can you see her?
I'm looking.
Oh, I hear her voice. There's Becky. Hi, Becky. Welcome.
I'm new at this, so.
That's okay. Tell us where are you located?
I am in Burleson, Texas, just south of Fort Worth, Texas, near Dallas.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am married. I have 3 grown daughters, and I work full-time for a cardiovascular surgeon. And I just started with ASEA back in May under Nancy Cotton.
Congratulations. Are you enjoying it so far?
Yes, ma'am, I am. I never thought I would want to do something like this, but
like most of us.
Seeing all the results that people have had, and just knowing there's so many people out there that need something that maybe their medicine isn't helping them with is motivating to just want to try to help people.
Fabulous. Well, super. Well, thank you. Welcome to the family, and for sharing ASEA. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else? If not, what we got here? Just check on the chat bar. Any other questions? No, I think we're good.
So I can say something really quickly.
I was just going to say, Shannon.
For those that have followed my kids, who both have a seizure disorder, we had their neurology appointment up at Children's today. And again, they've been seizure free. They've been taking this. They're now off meds. They're doing great. And she just, the neurologist continues to be floored with the progress that they've made just across the board. And both of my kids also had a chronic upper respiratory issue as kiddos. And now that we're coming into the season where allergies and everything take place, she asked, because that also was a trigger for both my children, specifically my daughter, if she like sneezed, we'd have seizures. Like we were on guard whenever a cold happened, even around her, she would just immediately get sick because she has a very weak, she was born with a weakened immune system. And she is just floored with how great they're doing, and finally agreed to let me send her information. I don't know that she's going to do anything with it, but I did tell her, I said, look, I'm not trying to tell everybody to go off meds. Like, we're grateful to be able to do that, and my kids are doing awesome. And that's something that like I was more adamant about, and she agreed to after my daughter's MRI also showed less scarring on the frontal lobe of her brain after being on this product for 2 years. But I do believe that it will enable medication to work better and also just help these kids. So I don't know what's going to happen with it, but finally after 3 years, he's letting me send her some information. So it was great. And my kids are doing awesome. I mean, they're just, it's just amazing. So those of you that have followed us the last couple of years and all my updates, it just gets better and better. And I have happy and healthy kids. And 3 years ago, that wasn't 3.5 years ago, that was not the case for specifically my daughter. It really wasn't. And I won't go there because it's the end of the night, it's 9:03, and y'all know me, I cry about it, but it's a great appointment, and I'm just so glad. I'm just happy.
That's wonderful. We love to hear the updates, and quality of life is worth everything, right? I mean,
yep.
The rest of it is irrelevant. It's what motivates us all. So I want to thank everybody this evening. Yes, it is 9:03. We need to say goodnight. And obviously David is on his way back. He will be on the calls on Wednesday again. I guess Debbie's doing the 1 o'clock call. And I know that he's doing a 9 o'clock call. Maybe she's doing the 1 o'clock. Don't count me on that one because I'm not certain. But he will be back on Wednesday as usual. So thanks everyone. Appreciate you all. And we'll unmute and we can all say good night.
Good night, Carolyn. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you so much.
much.
It was a great call.
Thank you.
Great. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you for the awesome call.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
This little computer.